Hi, my name is Angie Aurora, and I'm a registered social worker from Toronto, Canada. More specifically, I'm a veterinary social worker. And for the last 15 years, I've had the opportunity to work in two areas that are very near and dear to my heart. One around pet loss bereavement, and the second around compassion fatigue and veterinary wellness. Back in 2008, I had the opportunity to work as a hospital veterinary social worker, and I got to witness firsthand some of the very unique, nuanced stressors that take place within veterinary medicine. Although my role was a social worker, I still experienced compassion fatigue as a result of many of the similar issues that other members of the team were also facing. It led me on a really unique journey. And later on that year, I was certified by the Traumatology Institute as a compassion fatigue specialist. Since then, I've been able to use the knowledge and the training that I've had to really foster wellness within the industry by focusing in on very concrete tools that we can each use both in our personal and professional lives to really overall increase our wellness and our happiness. And I'm thrilled to be able to talk about some of those with you today. VetVine has recently introduced its veterinary wellness and professional resiliency coaching program, and I'm here today to answer some common questions that might come up if you're considering joining either the one-to-one coaching or the group coaching components of the program. And so first off, who are these programs for? And I think it's really important to mention that either the one-to-one coaching or the group coaching are beneficial for anybody working in animal care. So more specifically, that could be within veterinary medicine. And it's also important to note that any role within veterinary medicine can benefit. So that includes veterinarians, vet techs, vet assistants, front desk staff, practice management. Really, everyone can benefit from this knowledge and the learning to implement within their own lives. It's also equally relevant to anyone working within animal rescue and shelter. Because the focus is on your wellness, anyone can benefit. You might also be asking yourself, why? Why might I participate in this type of a coaching program? We all know that compassion fatigue is a really big buzzword right now. And so, really simply put, compassion fatigue is defined as burnout plus secondary trauma. Burnout is when we don't have the sufficient resources to do our jobs well. And I think most of us can relate to this. Those resources could be staffing, support, etc. Secondary trauma refers to the impacts of being constantly exposed to other people's pain and suffering. And so, what we know from the literature and research is that if you have both of those things happening at the same time, it can create what's called compassion fatigue. Another term for compassion fatigue, which has more recently been used, is empathic strain. And what I like about that language is that it kind of more clearly defines what it is that we're actually talking about, right? Compassion fatigue or empathic strain is when we're not able to be as present with the people that we're supporting. Our empathy is strained, which then makes it harder to be compassionate. So, coming back to the program, this is all about wellness and taking care of yourself. It's really around finding inner peace, finding your inner purpose so that you can thrive both in your personal and your professional lives, right? The goal here is not to survive and just get by. It's to really enjoy our lives, to enjoy the work that we do, and to thrive in our personal relationships as well. We know that the more that you take care of you, the better your relationships with others are going to be. And also taking it back more to your work context, the more you take care of yourself, the better service that you're going to provide to your clients. So really, this is a win-win. The problem is we know what the issues are, but we don't always know how to address them. And so either in the one-to-one coaching or the group coaching, you will be provided with very concrete tools on how to build your professional resilience. And so I just want to spend a few moments talking about what you can expect from either the one-to-one or the group coaching programs how they're similar, as well as how they are different. Both the one to one coaching and the group coaching involve a few things in common. First, they both involve 6 sessions. The preliminary session has much more to do with the findings from some self assessments that you will have completed. We look at things like your professional quality of life, your stress, exposure to secondary trauma, and any lingering impacts that that exposure may have on you both personally and or professionally. In the one-to-one coaching, we spend the first session really digging a bit deeper into your personalized findings and processing some of what has come up. The findings from those assessments then help us to determine the goals for the remaining coaching sessions. As I mentioned, a really big focus of the coaching program is sharing with you concrete tools that we know can work. And so, to give you an idea of what you can expect, there is a very heavy focus on a few different components of resilience. One is really reconnecting to why you joined this profession and why you started to do the work that you love, or at least at some point love. And so we connect back to the meaning of your work, the purpose, what has led you here, and kind of getting back to that place of being able to align your personal and professional values so that you're able to live your life authentically. We then dive into more concrete tools and spend a good chunk of time looking at things around emotional intelligence. And so within this, there is a heavy focus on self reflection, emotional regulation, self management, fostering your self awareness and empathy with others, as well as things like relationship management, which often includes building our skills to address conflict in really healthy ways. What we know is that the higher our emotional intelligence, the better we feel. Okay. Another area of our focus within the sessions is around looking at particular skills that you want to learn. What the research shows us about compassion fatigue is that the more skills we have, the more confident we feel. The more confident we feel, the more resilient we are. And finally, another pretty big component of the coaching sessions has to do with more traditional methods of what many folks refer to as self care. My approach is to take a much more holistic view on self care. And so while components of mental health, emotional self care, and physical self care are all really important, we kind of expand our definition of self care to look at other components as well. For example, financial self care, environmental self care, creative self care. So, getting your creative juices flowing. It's really that bigger picture that allows us to better care for ourselves. And of course, this can become quite personalized, more specifically in the one to one coaching, where you have the opportunity to hone in and focus in on the areas that you believe you can benefit from the most. And so you can see that there's a lot in common between the one to one and the group coaching, but there's also some differences. And I've mentioned a few of the differences for the one to one coaching. But in terms of the group format, what's really unique and interesting about this approach is that you'll be alongside a group of others, and it'll be a small, intimate group. But the goal here of going through some of this learning together is that there becomes this process of collaborative and shared learning. So hearing what other people are doing, things that have worked for others, challenges that others have faced can be quite validating and also give you new ideas on things that you might be able and willing to try. The other piece of the group coaching is that the goal here is to foster and build social connections, right? So we know that isolation can be a really big component to compassion fatigue. And just by virtue of being in a group setting, we start to break down some of those barriers by building new relationships and connections. And so if you're thinking about, is the one-to-one coaching or the group coaching better? What's right for me? I would encourage you to think about a few things. What is your preferred learning style? Do you prefer to have more intimate one-to-one conversations, or do you like being in that group setting where you get to hear what others are sharing? right? That really is a really big differentiating factor between the two that might help you to make the decision. As you can imagine, in the one to one coaching, it's just you and I. So we have the opportunity to kind of dig deep into some of the pieces that come up for you. That opportunity will still be present to a certain extent in the group coaching. But of course, the more people that we have, we're looking at sharing our time. But again, there's some really big value in being present with others as well. And so just thinking through how you prefer to learn, what your ideal learning style is, may lead you to the answer of whether you choose individual or group. But rest assured that the content remains similar across both methods. I want to wrap up by saying that this program is for everyone and not just people who believe that they are experiencing compassion fatigue. If you think back to some of the topics that we just mentioned, that can benefit anyone. And so, really, we talk about this program being ideal for anybody who is experiencing high levels of stress or high demand positions, and you're looking for some additional concrete support to work through some of the challenges that you're facing so that ultimately you can feel good about the work that you're doing and that you can feel good in your personal relationships and in your personal life. And so I welcome and look forward to the opportunity to be able to work with you and create the conditions where you are able to thrive and not just survive in the really important work that you're doing to care for our animals. Thank you.